Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. I, of course, I'm here with your daily mortgage rate update. Today, we're going to talk about, well, I think rates have plateaued. That's about all we're going to talk about. We'll talk about why. There's really not much else to go into. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're here live, say good morning. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. If you'd like to sign up for a quick reminder text message, I'm going live. You can get that at hmmr.io/reminder or use this cool QR code. You can also sign up for the daily email that goes out at www.ratelockadvice.com. It's a free email to your inbox each and every weekday morning. Also, we've got a $7 text alert service. Protecting your pipeline doesn't have to be expensive. $7 a month, and we send out alerts, a morning text, an afternoon text, and alerts if we think that there's reprice risk. So check them out at ratetextalerts.com. All right. Let's go ahead and say hi to the live folks here this morning, and we'll jump in. It's going to be a brief one today. Not really a lot to cover. So good morning, Mr. Avila. Good morning, Angela Walters, Brandy Brickler. Great to see you. Amy Blauser, Matt Rasner. Good morning. Randy Teagle. Giddy up, sir. Great to have you here, my friend. As always, Allison Foy. Good morning. Ron Siegel says today is National Root Beer Float Day. I like a good root beer float. Who else likes root beer floats? I like good root beer floats. Mallory Fotiadis, good morning. So let me know your feelings on root beer floats down at the bottom, and we'll take a look over at the other screens and go over all the stuff going on over here. So good morning, Mike Brown. All right. Let's zoom in, take a look at what happened yesterday. We'll do a quick recap, and we'll go from there. So let me... Come on. There we go. We can get rid of the economic calendar for the moment. Oh, seriously? Okay, there it is. All right. So bringing this in yesterday, we could take a look and see that everything was pretty flat on the day. Pricing, although 10 a.m. is right here, we did see a bit of movement. Generally, pricing was right around here. We were a little bit higher on the day, just a small improvement. Not enough to give us any kind of reprice better, but small improvement nonetheless. Taking a look this morning, a little bit of a dip, kind of a little bit of recovery. We're flat on the day. I mean, you don't get much flatter than 0 basis points, right? So, you doing the cold plunge thing, Mallory? Anyway, taking a look here, 10-year treasury yield 4.23. You could see that it's kind of capped out. Let me put this to 3 months. Take a look here. See how it's leveled off? We've just kind of flattened out. Same thing over here with mortgage bonds. We've got that same thing, right, where we've kind of just flattened out. Again, we had a really, really big day on Friday. We had some continuation on Monday, and then since then we've really just kind of flattened out. So I'm kind of the mindset that it's a good time to lock anything closing in the next couple of weeks, because today we've got the 10-year treasury auction this afternoon. Tomorrow you got jobless claims, 30-year treasury auction. Friday there's nothing. There's not an urgency, but we're going to see bonds drift. We're just kind of going to go up and down here and just see bonds kind of drifting right here. You're not going to see much movement either way. So I wouldn't be overly excited about floating anything closing near term right now. If it's closing the next couple of weeks, do you really want to take the risk of next week's CPI data? So that's really what we're banking on, is on August 12th. That is where it looks like a Z then on the 2, but August. Oh, you guys can't see it anyway. Here we go. So 12th. There we go. That's better. All right. So on August 12th, that is when we get the CPI inflation data. Again, I know that Ron, you and I don't always see eye to eye on the tariffs. I have absolutely seen signs of tariffs hitting all kinds of products. Some of it's being absorbed on the wholesale level, and some of it's making it way down to retail. I'll tell you, my barn, right, my Goliath shed from Costco here, and I'm going to move this so that it's the same level. I was actually showing somebody else something about this, and when I logged in, this is $1,000 more now than it was when I bought it in November, not counting any discounts. Just the base price is $1,000 higher. That's that's because of tariffs. We didn't have it had not changed in price for months and months and months, and all of a sudden now, just in the last few weeks, it's $1,000 higher. So yeah, you're seeing tariffs on prices. Whether that makes its way into the data is a different story. When we look at the CPI data, it comes from a basket of goods. The core CPI data removes food and energy costs. So you're going to see an argument about how much of that is making it into the actual data. But like this is more expensive now than it was. Looking at the base price for where it was $13,499 back in October. That's not for the big one, but that's for the Costco Next. So that was for the small one, the 16 by 16. So looking here though, check this out. Let's go ahead and I think it's going to make me log in here. See if I'm already logged in. Oh, it looks like I'm already logged in. Good. So it was $13,499. Now look at it, $13,999. So the small one is $500 more expensive. And when you double 16 by 16 to 16 by 32, which is double the size, my price was $22,499. Now it's $23,499. It's $1,000 more expensive. That's what tariffs are doing. That's exactly what it is. Whether it's the cost of the shingles, the lumber, the nails, all the above, getting it here, whatever it is, the smart side, whatever it is, it's there. That's what you're seeing right there. So that is how the tariffs work and how they're working. Speaking of that stuff, as far as what effect it's going to have on rates and pricing, it's not really having much of a direct effect. There's some more, going back and forth. Japan, Trump says Japan is going to take some of our F-150s. Have you seen the size of the roads in Japan? Japan is not going to take a bunch of F-150s. There's a reason Japanese cars are small. There's a reason Japanese people are small. They're not taking F-150s. I don't know where he comes up with this stuff. I think he just makes stuff up sometimes. Well, I know he makes stuff up sometimes. So anyway, but anything else that's going on, of course, there's a lot of talk about who he's going to push out there for the next Fed governor to take the place of Kugler. Remember, something doesn't get talked about with that whole Kugler thing. Her seat, actually, I mean, she's resigning 6 months early, which I don't get. She says she's just going back to teach at Georgetown, but she's resigning 6 months early. But her seat is still up and has to be, whoever is there would have to be renominated, or a new nomination could be had there. So there's a lot of speculation and talk about what's going to happen, and Trump trying to influence the Fed and having a voice there. And right now it's just a lot of stuff to sell newspapers. What we really need to be focusing on is what markets expect to happen right now. And the big thing is, I mean, look at this. We are in full on guarantee of a rate cut in September. Markets fully expecting a rate cut in September. There is nothing is going to happen in next week's CPI data that's going to throw enough water on this to knock this all the way back down. I mean, we would have to see a seriously crazy high inflation number. However, where that inflation number could have more of an effect is when we get into this October number. Again, expecting to see one rate cut is here. Expecting to see no rate cuts, totally non-existent. Markets are 2-1 believing that we will not only see a cut in September, but we'll see one in October. That wasn't really on the table before. 2 rate cuts this year is what was kind of there, and then a December cut. This is just winning by a hair. So if we see this column go up, if markets continue to price in the idea that we could see 3 rate cuts this year, that would help rates improve a little bit further. But generally, most of this has already been priced in. So that's why I'm of a stance where I would go ahead and lock anything closing near term, anything risk averse. We could definitely see next week's CPI inflation data. if that data doesn't show a lot of inflation, we could see some continued, expectation of maybe 3 cuts for the year. That could see rates improve a little bit further. But otherwise, looking at where we're at, we've kind of capped out. We'll call it 6.5. We've dropped from 6 and 7/8 and 6 and 3/4 down to 6.5. That's a nice move. We've seen overall about a 3/8 of a point, 3.375. All right. We've seen about a 3/8 of a point move overall. That's nothing to sneeze at. So I would be locking up anything that's closing near term on this, and anything that's got some time, I think you can hold off. But let's see. Mr. Teakle said he's throwing me my softballs. Appreciate you, Mr. Teakle. He said, how does a Fed rate cut help move mortgage rates? The speculation of a Fed rate cut helps move mortgage rates more than the actual Fed rate cut. Although the Fed, again, the Fed rates still permeate through everything, but it's almost like if you were to throw a pebble in a pond and you had concentric rings, the most displacement is going to happen closest to where the pebble hit, but you're still going to have it ripple as it goes out. And we have it ripple as it goes out to longer term bonds, which treasuries, 10-year and 30-year treasuries, mortgage bonds, those are long-term bonds, right? Long-term rates. Long-term rates are affected. They're just not as strongly influenced as short-term rates. Also, the idea that the Fed is going to cut rates, that kind of focuses on everything. It's the idea that we'll see lower inflation, that it's going to help the economy, those things, and they tend to help rates improve. It's kind of funny because normally mortgage rates do best when we see other activity. But as far as really seeing rates go down, again, we've seen some movement. You're talking some movement, but if to see rates really drop, we would have to see quantitative easing, where the Fed was buying up mortgage-backed securities and driving the prices up. That would be what it would take to see mortgage rates really drop. And that's a very, very, very unlikely anytime soon. So, in fact, we're still in quantitative tightening where the Fed is selling off their balance sheet for everything they picked up during COVID. So that is kind of where we're at there. It's why it makes it unlikely for that. What else you got here, my friends? What do I think the expected rate cut will be priced in, or do you think it already is? It's absolutely priced in already. It is all of these. That's why when you see the, we'll go back to the Fed futures. You want to watch the Fed futures. It's already priced in. When you see the expectation is 92% that we're going to have a rate cut. If it wasn't priced in, it would be much lower. Markets have already priced this in. They're expecting it, and it's already on your rate sheets. It's the reason that you saw this big move. And again, this wasn't just because of the idea that the Fed is going to cut rates. I mean, it happened when the labor market data came in super weak. So even Fed aside, weak labor market data always supports better mortgage rates because it's just kind of how that runs. What about at the other side of that? The tariffs are creating diminished supply of bonds. That's an interesting take on that. Do you think creating a diminished supply of bonds? Because why would you say the tariffs are creating a diminished supply of bonds? I do know that the Cent is focusing on diminishing the longer term bonds, but I don't know that that's related to the tariffs. Ron Siegel, not your father's root beer with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. That's what my wife likes. They call that an adult root beer float at the burger place where we love, Church Street Depot. So that is what they call it there. Hey, y'all, I see the sun. I've not seen the sun in days. It's so nice to see the sun. All right. I think we got all the questions. I'm going to wrap it up, y'all. Anything else you want to talk about? Otherwise, it's going to be quiet the next couple of days. Again, tomorrow we've got jobless claims. You'll see some small movement in the morning. Tariffs are bringing $100 billion, which we don't have to issue in bonds. Oh, okay. Are they? Is that really how the accounting works? Are we not going to have to borrow for the big bloated bill? I don't know. I'd like to see how the balance sheets work and the budgets work. I'd like to see where that money is actually being allocated, if it's into the treasury and how that's been worked. But you're right. In theory, Ron is absolutely right. He's talking about tariffs bringing in $100 billion, which you don't have to issue in bonds. So Fed funds rate could potentially affect prime rate, which then affects the HELOC pricing. Absolutely. Oh yeah, you definitely gonna have HELOC pricing. HELOC it doesn't potentially affect prime rate. It absolutely affects the prime rate. Prime is based on the Fed funds rate. So what is it? Plus 3.5%, if I remember correctly, or 3.75. I forget. I haven't looked at it in forever. So anyway, well, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Get out there, prospect. Definitely shake the trees. It's a great time to get a few refis in the, going. We don't know when these rates, if they'll stay, if they'll go lower. There's no guarantee. So, have that conversation. Some people, it's going to be a good time. Some people, the numbers are going to work a little bit. And if it goes lower, make sure you don't charge them too much that you can't refinance them again in 6 or 8 months or a year if things go lower again. So, all right, my friends, I'll catch you all later. Have a fantastic day, and bye-bye.